excited. It's Friday. It's celebration day. It's a great day to be alive. Any day is great to be alive, right? I am so excited to have a special guest here, author Sherry Gideon and Pam Aubrey. They have a great show. And I have a treat for you because a lot of you may not realize a lot of things that we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to do a little intro video just so you could see their little personality, and then I'm going to bring them on, okay? So here we go. Thanks for being here. Oh my gosh, we're back. I'm so excited. Sherry and Pam, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you guys, I am super, super excited to have you here. It's just a blessing. I mean, you guys, Pam, I got to meet you last year and it was instantly like, you're one of my BFFs,
Yes.
We don't even get to talk, but it's just that energy. It's just that communication
Exactly.
that's just not, it's just one of those things you don't have to talk about,
It's not a little bit of magic. Exactly.
Yeah,
when you're meant to meet someone, right?
absolutely. Like right here, this is Sherry's book, Mastering Ultimate Thinking, and it's an awesome book. I got to tell you, it's been very, very enlightening. If you guys would do me a quick favor, because I'm doing something in the background here. Sherry, would you talk a little bit about you, and then Pam, and let everyone know who you guys are?
Awesome. So I'm Sherry Gideons. I'm a spiritual teacher, life mastery consultant, success mentor, retired pro bodybuilder, and just an all-around person that loves people and meets people right where they're at and wants to lift people into tapping into that greater, grander expression of who they truly are on the inside.
I love that. I was a bodybuilder too, so that's cool.
Is that right?
Very cool. And I'm Pamela Aubrey, and I'm an EFT practitioner, and I'm a Reiki master, and I work with people to really raise and elevate their energy and bring them into a space where their past programming no longer gets in the way of what they really want to do and who they really want to be.
Oh man, that's so exciting. Hi, Sandra from Ontario. We're glad you're here. I know you're going to love this show today. And it's funny, Pam, I'm a second degree Reiki master for a few years now. Yeah, not too many people know that, but it's been awesome. I've got to become a master.
I love it. Yes, you do.
Yeah. Well, you guys, I'm excited to have you guys here because, life has just been changing so much and people don't realize that what used to work doesn't work anymore. I think you guys would agree, right? And absolutely. I think if anything, we've all spent more time actually reflecting, thinking about our lives, and COVID's just remind us that, we have expiration dates, right? Mm. And I know Sherry, like me, we've experienced some things that, have made us almost lose our life. So I would love to, for you guys to talk about your little bit of background and where you are now, because some people have, when you talk about vibration and you talk about, a vibe of nation, that concerns and scares people. But I got to tell you, I mean, I know Jesus Christ, and yet I also know that you guys are my people. I mean, I love you. We talk when we don't talk, and that people don't understand that. Mm-hmm. And so if we can enlighten my guests here that are just clueless or afraid, if you want to share a little bit, that would be great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, my path really started as a young girl. My family were ministers, and I grew up in the Baptist religion, and I went to Christian school and, lived my life in the 60s and the 70s on into the 80s and 90s in the belief system that there was something always out to get me when I made a mistake in life. When I made mistakes, they were a sin. And so there was always that constant element of fear going on. And so there came a point in my life in the 90s, I was in the pro bodybuilding world, and I had really lived my life based on the model of trying to meet up to perfectionism, because that's really what my father modeled, that behavior, in order for me to receive love. And so I got to a point where I'm drug addicted, bulimic and anorexic, trying to meet up to this idea of perfectionism, and literally couldn't even see it. And I began to ask those questions very much like what you're speaking about right now. I began to ask, why am I here? What is my purpose? What am I meant to do? Is all there is to life pain, suffering, struggle, circumstance, and challenge? And I was wholeheartedly at that place in my life where I was completely surrendered, and on one level, ready to let go, ready to die. And before I knew it, I ended up having a massive heart attack. And I had what so many of you read about in books. I had a very deep near-death experience. And it was in that experience that I was completely eliminated from, removed from this physical body, and I was invited in love. And I mean pure love beyond human understanding. And, in the Bible, we hear those stories that we're judged the day we die. We are not judged. We relook at everything we've given while we've been here in the body, and we get to decide. And then I was shown my purposes, why I had come. And then I was shown all of the amazing things that we all are. You, me, Pam, all of our listeners and audience, we are all individualized expressions of source energy, God. And this is pure love. And there is absolutely nothing for any of us to be worried about. It's about remembering who we truly are. We are individualized expressions of God.
Gosh, I just love that. God makes no mistake, because, there's just so much that you said that I went through. I mean, I was 23 bodybuilding. I started when I was 13, so I was 23. But then it was the fact of getting in a little bathing suit that really, really, I was like, I'm not signing up to be in front of everybody. That was really, really hard for me. And that's kind of where I stopped with all that. But, it's just amazing how things need to happen for something to happen, And so I know Pam, love to hear your background as well.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I mean, I actually was not born into the family that raised me. I was adopted into it, and I was originally, born to a single mom and a father who was so not interested in us that he actually tried to end both of our lives before I was even born. And so I, kind of came into this world, I think a little bit like closer to spirit than I might have been otherwise. And I remember, even as a young child, having this connection with spirit and knowing that there was something bigger, even about myself, that I didn't totally understand yet and other people didn't totally understand yet. And so, as the years went on, I can relate so much to both you and Sherry, living in that sort of fundamentalist, very black and white, world where there's only right and wrong. And that's, whatever the church said was right, and everyone else was lost, and that just never really resonated with me. Although I loved the stories about Jesus and, the amazing things that he did, the religion piece of it just never resonated with me. And, as I grew older, kind of the effects, I guess you could say, of living in that fear and that, constant, I'm going to go to hell if I make one false move, sort of environment really caught up with me. And I eventually came to a point in my life where it was just kind of like a collapse in a way. And I actually had a snowboarding accident. And at that point, the bottom just kind of fell out, and I had hit the reset button on a lot of levels. And that took a number of years. But, to go back to your point about what did that look like for me coming out of the Christian world, I think that there's so much judgment, there's so much you're going to be cast out and you're not going to be accepted anymore. You're not going to be loved the same way. And for me, that was a huge element of the fear because, I already lost my family once and I didn't want to lose them again. So I was going to do whatever it took to keep them. And, I think people really understand that. I think they really relate to that because a lot of us feel that fear of, what if the people around me don't agree with me or don't approve of me? And the reality is that has nothing to do with the message that Jesus brought to this planet, and quite the opposite, because he came to abolish the law, the old law, which was you have to earn your way. That was the whole reason that he came, was that we could learn to love each other.
I know we need a lot of love on this earth right now, more than ever. I think people have gotten so disconnected of relationships, of why they love each other. Like, you take things for granted, and then we wait till people die to actually honor them, and regrets come in, and we have it all backwards here. We truly have it backwards, and that's that's the reason why I want to do a show of fun, love, and laugh and let go, with Lynn, because it's the yesterday's gone, take the lessons, move on, and we got today. That's all we can do, is impact people today. So if you guys, I've got some questions here that we discussed. So, and this is for our viewers. Please let us know where you're chiming into, and feel free to share this. And I thank you guys for being here and watching this. I hope you guys see what beautiful two spirits I have in front of me, that I just love these ladies. We unfortunately don't have Kat with us, who I love to share you guys stream when you're the three of you on your show, or having her on there. It's just, I love the energy, and it's just great. So Sherry, do you want to, you kind of talked about your past, but where was the epiphany of realizing?
Well, you have to realize when you're given this kind of experience, all of the negative energy is eliminated from you, and you're filled with pure love. You're one with everything that exists. And, going back to what Pam said, Jesus came to share with all of us the truth of who each of us is. He said, ye are gods. And yet we still call that blasphemy today. We don't realize we're the same stuff. This stuff that Jesus was, this stuff of God, is within all of us. And so taking me on my path, I'm given this same insight in the light. And I'm told to come back and share with the world. And the last thing that had been said to me was, and you must help the world to understand that they must give of themselves freely without expecting. And love is all there is. Well, this is 1997. We're approaching Y2K, the year 2000, and people were afraid. They thought these things were coming about. Well, so here I am, little old Sherry Gideons, trying to share this truth. Do you think the world was ready to receive it? No. They laughed at me, vilified me, spit upon me, and called me crazy. And my own father said, you made your bed, you lie in it. And I ended up walking homeless on the streets with my children. But through the last 23, 24 years, something that had been said to me in the light was that I never had to worry, that all the right people would show up at the right moment to help me move forward. And all I needed to do was trust. And do you know that through the last 24 years, that is exactly, every moment has delivered what was needed in the moment. And you just said yourself just a little bit ago, yesterday is over. We are meant to live in the now through the moments of today, being from that which we desire, being from it as if it is already true. You have to see it inward and believe it inward before you see it outward. And so fast forward to this path, to help others. My reason for coming to the planet, and this makes me very emotional, is to help people remember who they truly are on the inside, that this world of outward appearance is only happening as a result of what's going on in here. And that's why the moment is so strong and so powerful, because in that moment of awareness, in that moment that we recognize we were being in a way that we don't desire to be and project into the world, we have a choice, we have volition. And it's in that moment of awareness we can become the observer, and we can identify with a part of ourself that we don't want to own, that we don't want to give power to, and we can cast it away, we can cast it aside, and we can unite with the attributes of God: love, peace, power, abundance, good and greater good, harmony, balance. All of these beautiful, amazing attributes of God are in us. And all we have to do is tap into that magnificence that we are, because Source, God, is within us, living through us. And we can literally tap into that in any moment. And that's what led me on the path of wanting to help others, being myself.
Sherry, you have no idea. This is no joke. April 1st of 1997, my hysterectomy was botched. I had it the day before. I woke up that morning and I was hemorrhaging for over 24 hours. They didn't think I was going to live. And I was so grateful that I was able to live. Let me tell you, I had witnesses of people that were there that truly, I was on my deathbed. They had the bed like this. They did the bolus. The operating rooms were over booked. And so I could just feel the pool. I mean, but the scariest thing were the nurses and doctors that looked at me. They had no hope. They looked at me like I was a monster. They looked at me like they were saying goodbye to me. I was cracking jokes. I had faith. I just leaned on not my own understanding. And I had faith. And I said to God, I want to see my kids. I want to be able to be here. But, when I woke up, I was so happy. They thought I was crazy. They actually put me in the psych ward because I was happy to be alive. And 450 Baptist people here in Billings, Montana, stopped talking to me. So I totally get it. I totally understand it. But again, it's not until you're there and you see everyone fearing you that you're not making it. And I was giving them hope. I mean, literally everyone came to see me after, I was just rejoicing in the moment. It was the best day of my life. And it is just amazing how, you have to if anybody out there is watching and you're going through a bad thing, you need to envision what God wants in your life and focus on that, because that's the only way you're going to get through the tunnel of what you're going through. So, again, I've dimmed my light to let other people for a long time, but I no one pays my bills but myself, and I'm just proud to finally feel like I found my tribe in you guys. And so I didn't mean to talk so much, but Pam, it's just amazing because we have not gotten to talk before this, Sherry, and it's just amazing how parallel our stories are. It's just
well, there's never any accidents. And, you have to realize what we're seeking is always seeking us. And so you have to realize we show up in each other's lives on purpose at the right time, the right moment, good and bad, to help us step into that expression, that greater, grander truth of who we are. So you're not here by accident in either of our lives.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you were talking, it was giving me chills, Lynn, because that in and of itself is such a testimony to the fact that there is something so much greater than this world that we see around us. And what's happening behind the scenes, and what was happening behind the scenes for you in those moments, is what's really important. That's what really matters. And that's why we're all here. And when we can step away from our fear long enough to see what Jesus saw, I think that is something that we really miss in Christianity, is how did Jesus see the world? What did his perspective look like? And we forget all of that because we've got all these rules and things that we're worried about, and making people, feel like I'm part of this club and I'm doing all the right things to be a part of the club. And, you know, I think it's great to have relationships and to come together in a way where we support each other. But the fact of the matter is that that's not why we're here. Even though that's great and wonderful, that's not why we're here either. We're here to be a light in the world. And that is why Jesus came. And that's really what you're talking about when you say, you know, helping others, serving others. What is that? It's being that light in the world.
It's awesome. Like I'm thankful for our viewers. Don't get me wrong, but I've gotten so much out of this. There's no mistake. I've got my new tribe, and I really, really love you guys and appreciate you so much. I've got another question here.
I jumped the gun a little on that one.
Yeah, you answered
I think that was his mission. You know, his mission was to come here and show us how it's done. You know, we can look at his life. He's given us so many examples. And he said, you know, greater things will you do than I have done. I mean, which gives me chills every time I think about it, because you look at the things that he did and they seem so incredible. But the reality is that we are all here to do those sorts of things because that was the purpose behind us being here, just like it was his purpose behind being here.
Thank you, Sandra, for sharing that.
Yes,
that's so beautiful. Yeah, so beautiful. Yep. Always there. He's always there.
And Mark is in the house.
Hi, Mark.
Hi,
Yeah,
Mark.
we love you, Mark. We love you. We love you. And he shared. So we really, really
thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much for sharing. And Sherry, if you wanted to answer that question.
Yeah, and you know, as I said earlier, Jesus was here to show us what's possible in all of us, that we have the same stuff. We have the exact same potential. I mean, I was able to really practice the teachings of Jesus with a second near death that I had in 2004 after the delivery of twins. And I went into total cardiac arrest. One of my babies was born without a throat, and she was born with hemivertebrae and double hernias. And they came back and they said I was going to die in 6 months without a heart transplant. This is my second near-death experience. So from 1997 to 2004, I had embodied the teachings of Jesus. And what happened was the doctor came in and he said I was going to be on my back for 6 months waiting for a heart transplant. I'd never exercise again, and I could die without this heart transplant. Instead of connecting to the diagnosis of dis-ease in my body, I went inward and I began to speak the truth. I began to use my word, which we call affirmative prayer. And I first recognized that there is one source, one power, one infinite intelligence everywhere present, and that is God. That this life lives through me, in me, through me and within me. And I declare right here and right now that within me there is only perfection. I am operating from a whole, perfect, and complete alignment with God. And because I know that truth, I believe that truth, and I am in gratitude of that truth, I got out of the way of the how, and I allowed this infinite loving presence, this God source universe, to take care of that. And I went in every single day, and guess what I did? I only behaved as if that were the truth. And guess what? My doctor said the same thing, very much what like you described. We need to look at this realistically. This is airy-fairy thinking, he says to me. You're a very sick woman. You have 32 to 37% heart function. You're sick. And he says, and you're over here saying that you're going to heal to 100%? Well, let me just say belief and trust and faith is a very powerful thing. And within 3 years, what did I do? I healed to 100% because I gave that power over to God. And I literally practiced the teachings of Jesus. I loved from inside, and I allowed from inside the truth to be revealed.
You have no, I drove myself with the pulse of 38.
Oh, geez.
To the hospital. I told my ex-husband, you might want to stay home, because I went just to the local clinic instead of the main hospital. I said, they might be calling you. And I drove myself to the clinic, and they're like, we need to get you in an ambulance, and we don't know if we're going to get you downtown. Like, no, I think I can just call my husband and I'll get him there. And I kid you not, we get an emergency room and I'm out. I'm like flatlined. The heart unit. I was doing lingerie parties then. I'm like, I gotta show up to a party. But anyways, you know, a chunky girl, this and that, and being an athlete really helps, let me tell you, because that termination, you know. But they had me through the stress test and everything, the heart unit, the blood was separating, the protein, the whole 9 yards. And they're just like, we don't understand why you're going through this, and we don't understand how you're getting better. And so I did tell my kids, because I have asthma, I have breathing issues, but I told them, I said, if I have to be incubated, I said, don't worry, don't pull the plug on me, I will come back.
Oh, that's so awesome.
I told them, I said, I will rise again.
Yes.
I've been there. And my kids have seen, you know, I mean, my kids were 3 and 4. I was vomiting bile, and they were trying to take care of me. I mean, I was in death's doors then too, you know. I mean, again, it's just, we are blessed if you know that you focus on him and focus on being right and focusing on healing yourself. It is possible. It truly is possible.
Yeah. Well, because we don't have anything that the other doesn't have. Every single one of us has the capacity to do what you and I are talking about, what Pam's talking about.
It is. It truly is.
Well, and, you know, alongside that, too, I just want to throw this in as a side note, is that we are supported. You know, I mean, we do have angels that support us. And when I was about 9 years old, I was up in the mountains camping with my family, and I fell down the side of this mountain. And what was amazing was when I kind of, you know, took off from the top, I was sliding on gravel with 2 feet at the same time. And I hit this little, you know, cliff, and sort of launched into the air. And according to my family who watched me, I did somersaults through the air. But when I woke up after I landed, what was so amazing was that there were 2 huge boulders back here, kind of on the sides of my head. And then my body was propped up on the one in front of me. And my head and my shoulders were right in the center of those 3 boulders, which had made a space just big enough for my head and shoulders. And, you know, I mean, the odds of me landing so perfectly without a scratch on me, you know, and then just getting right back up and being perfectly okay were so small. And I know that I was protected. You know, I know that I was kept here for a reason. And we miss sometimes those little things, you know. It didn't register with me at that age. You know, I just thought, man, that was crazy. I can't believe I'm getting up. I didn't think I was going to.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know, you just reminded me, especially, I mean, gosh, I just went really quick with the time I was drugged behind a vehicle, the time I was on a motorcycle going down a hill, we crashed, oncoming cars, you know, going to roll right underneath them. I mean, there's this shift, accidents and everything. It's a shift. Like one time on an icy Yellowstone icy pass, and I was literally fishtailing, and I was in front of a truck. And, you know, it's so funny. You hold on to things. But one thing I realized, it was always okay, I'm ready for what's next. And it was always just that little switch that got me over that stuff. You just reminded. It's just an amazing thing how that works. Would you not agree?
So incredible.
Yep.
And to know that, you know, we really do. I mean, we have this connection with spirit that most of us aren't always aware of, you know. I mean, even in my life, it took a long time for me to really come to the place of realizing how much power resides there and how much is available to me through that connection. And I think that when we focus on things that are, you know, rule-based, or, you know, try to keep us in line with others' expectations, or, you know, maybe we just, you know, it's just our conditioning and we've just been stuck there in fear, then it's very, very difficult for us to move to that place of being able to really hear that voice for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that that is really the journey that we all deserve to go on, and that we're meant to go on.
Oh, I love what Mark's got there. You want to read that, Sherry?
It is
Oh,
so refreshing to hear beautiful women of intelligence speak the word wisdom. Let us be attentive. Thank you so much, Mark. You know, that's really what it is about. It is about the willingness to dare to be yourself, to stand in that truth of who we are as individuals. And that's really what this is about. This is about our individualized connection to God, to Jesus, and to stand in that truth with absolute trust, because not everybody's going to get it. Not everybody's ready at the same level to receive this. You know, something Oprah Winfrey said, I got to toast the new year with Oprah Winfrey in 2011 when she released the OWN network. And one of the things she said was so pivotal for my life. She said that here she started out as this, you know, fat, overweight Black woman, and she wanted to deliver a message. And in the beginning, she wasn't really sure how to do that, but she kept asking every day, let me be her vehicle. And she says, I'm not here to convince people of their truth. I'm here to be a vehicle to deliver a message to be spoken through. And when the people are ready, whatever level they're at, they'll receive my message. And that's exactly what I do every single day. Yes, I'm a very deep person. Yes, I have experienced very deep stuff, but I kept seeking that. I kept seeking to understand. And as I did, then I developed and grew this stronger, deeper relationship with God. And I'm grateful.
And do you not realize the blessing you got and all those traumatic things that actually made you human to actually empathize with other people?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, that is where we have to get it out of our own head. You know, I mean, yeah, it's great. Some people have not been unscathed, but I mean, I'm going to be 55. You don't get this far, and you don't get this far without being, touched in whatever way. But, being moms and this and that, like, we had to go through what we did to have our children to actually appreciate them and say, well, you wanted these children when they're being bad or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to be careful what you wish for. So again, I really, I'm so grateful that you guys are here on my show, because I'm developing something, but
we love you.
so grateful to be here.
I love you guys so much. And I want to ask this question, and, with this question, I love the fact that no matter what, there's so many people know little bits and pieces of my story, not everything, because it's not the purpose of where I was. It's the purpose of it's helped me empathize with many people for many reasons, but they've always been able to see the light. I mean, I've been able to walk into a room and do a lingerie party and have the vibration that these people don't like me. I'm a chunky girl. Who do I think I am talking about, things? I mean, and at the end of the night, they all just fell in love with me, and they didn't just understand. But I always walked in that room, held up high, going, you know what? I know that they don't care about me right now, and that's okay. But I'm going to show up, and I'm going to show them a good time. And it was always just so nice, because they always misjudged who I was. And again, it's not me that they see; it's that light.
Yep.
So, Sherry?
Well, and I love that you own that. I love that you own that, knowing that you have that light in you. And I think, that's, in some ways, that's the first step of the journey, is for us to be able to say, I do have that light, to be able to allow ourselves to move into that space, and then to understand what it really means, and it's a process. Everybody gets there a little bit differently, and we all do it at different rates.
Yeah.
But getting there is really the magic.
You got a light, Pam. I love your light.
Oh, thank you. And you do too, which is why immediately, we were drawn to each other. It was just like instantaneous.
Well, you attract what you are, because here's the thing. We are individualized expressions of light. We're tiny particles of light that is infinite and everywhere present. And we come into the body and we forget that. And we don't realize that we've been given choice and we've been given free will. But at the same time, Jesus spoke about surrender. When we surrender to that awareness, to that knowingness, that truth, that we are already light, that we are pure light, then what happens is, that which we are, we draw unto us. And so when we use this faculty of the mind, we don't understand that what we are being on the inside is what's creating the forms with which appear in our experience. And so let me just say a little bit about that. When I said earlier, when we are being from a feeling, that's what we call a vibe. When we talk about vibes and vibrations and frequencies, if we're giving a feeling and a thought inside from ourselves out, we're receiving a reflection, an experience that is a mirror of a part of ourself, whether we're conscious of it or unconscious of it. So when we talk about the laws of the universe, each of us is a law unto himself. And it's our particular use of this creative law of the universe that is the cause of what is showing up in our experience. So when we talk about, powers of the mind, we must be clear and we must clearly perceive that all power has already been delivered unto us. So let's talk about good. All the good that there is already ours, but we must consciously enter into this good. And how do we do that? We do that by using a formula that I mentioned earlier called effective affirmative prayer. We're first recognizing that God is all there is. And these things that we ask for are to believe that we have already received it. It's not always easy. I get it, because people say, oh, that's a lot easier said than done. But you have to realize we've been talking about Jesus, the greatest genius that ever lived, gave this formula. He said the law of cause and effect. He said, when we believe, we already have the object of our desire. And until we believe that we already possess this, we have not created the image of our desire and projected it into the infinite field of the universe so that it may be attracted to us. And that's what we don't understand, that we're the ones giving it form. And so when we change our mind, when we change the way we're being, we change our life. And I know that's a long-winded answer, but I wanted to make sure from my heart that I got that out. I want all of you to know how powerful you are and what you possess.
You're just
amazing. I love that. And to that point, Jesus gave us a prayer. He gave us a prayer and he was like, use this prayer, because when it talks about the kingdom coming, it's not talking about an earthly kingdom. It's talking about a spiritual one. And we cannot move into that place until we understand what that looks like and what that really means. And so in order for the kingdom to come, we all have to be able to move into this space of understanding and know for ourselves what role we play in that.
Yes.
I've got some really good questions here. You guys help me formulate. And Sherry, which one do you want me to put up there? Because I've got...
Let's see, probably how can we shift our thought structure and tear out the old negativity? You start by dismantling your own beliefs.
So go for it, Sherry.
So this is really simple. It's what you believe, you create. And so if you believe something doesn't work, then of course it won't work. And so, as I refer to, I don't have my book in here, but as I refer in my book, ultimate thinking, it's like positive thinking. There you go. But you don't try it. You don't try positive thinking. You just do it. And so you don't sit back and wait for results. You go after results. And so with ultimate thinking, you practice what you preach by going for whatever you want and know that it will produce better results than the contrast negative thinking. And it's a practice, you guys. It's a daily learning to live in today, to be from today, through the moments of today, to be aware of what thinking and what feeling and what being you're coming from and what you're putting out. I said to Pam yesterday, I called Pam up crying, and I had an experience that occurred. And one of Pam's and my friends, his little girl died in surgery. She was 12 years old and she died in surgery. And, you know, I'm always so adamant about the moment, because that's what Jesus said to me, was that I was going to help bring the moment back into the planet, that I was going to bring the importance of how we create from our point of power in the moment. And so what happened was, no sooner did that occur than the next day, yesterday, I see on one of my friends' lives that this guy that we were just at an event with 2 weeks ago was killed yesterday in a car accident. And I was overcome with emotion. And it was like a mirror in front of me and a message how I need to let everyone know how much they matter to me, how much they mean. And I called Pam up and I told her, you're in my life for a reason. I just want you to know I love you. I want you to know how much you matter to me, and that we're out here together giving this message out, sharing this message to others together.
You know, I learned at 7 years old when my grandmother passed away, but then at 14, I had a classmate that died, and he was just a very quiet student. And, you know, even, I mean, they may be watching, but even some of the students that, you know, he liked somebody and this and that, he wasn't treated real well, but the hypocrisy of when he died and the regrets people had, you know. So I learned a long time ago that, I mean, I tell people, if I love them, I mean, we do forget. How many times when someone passes, you immediately go, when's the last time I talked to them? Did I tell them? Was that a good conversation? I mean, we always assume, and assume means an ass of you and me. We always assume that we're going to have another time to talk to them. I had Ken on my show, and I just wanted him to know how grateful I was that he's the master connector of all of us.
Yes.
You know, and so again, it's the thing of, we only have this moment, but we've got to make sure. My daughter tested positive for COVID a couple weeks ago, and I had my granddaughter around. I didn't know if I was going to be exposed, and you know, right away I was like, okay, I need to call this person and that person, make sure that they know I care about them, even though we're in different situations, you know. And it's just important to have that reality of you know, I don't know if you want to answer this, Pam.
Well, and I think, you know, along with that, you know, we really do. I mean, we have to understand that we only have so much time. I mean, we only get like this one lifetime to do this one thing. And so it's important for us to understand these ideas and these concepts, because that's the only way we can fulfill our purpose. And even though, you know, a lot of times it's very difficult for us to remember what that purpose is, when we start to utilize some of the tools that help us tap into spirit, then we can get there. And that's really the process of us understanding and coming into the fullness of who we are meant to be on this planet.
We got some good questions here. Which one, what other one should I go with, Sherry?
Just go with how to develop self-esteem and build confidence.
All right, there we go. See, we're, you know, work together here. Good, thank you.
You know, I'm a storyteller, and, you know, I like to relate to stories that people can really, you know, understand that has been going on in their own thought processes in their minds. So how do we develop self-esteem and build confidence? And it kind of goes back to the biggest tree in the world grows from a seed that you can only hold with 2 fingers, between 2 fingers. And whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And so self-esteem is about how we value ourselves. This journey is about our relationship with who we truly are. And so, you know, we start with baby steps. I mean, we, like Pam said earlier, we have a lot of conditioned beliefs. We have a lot of programs that are running in our mindsets, in our operating systems that are challenging. And so you start with baby steps. And you start by identifying your challenging and your negative beliefs. I always say, take a paper out and put on the left-hand side all the negative beliefs. Notice your thoughts about yourself. So, for example, basically, when you look at the evidence that contradicts those statements that you write down on the left-hand side of the paper, look for evidence inside of you that contradicts those statements, because the object is to build a positive relationship with yourself and avoid the negative ones. So you want to look to build a relationship with people who make you feel good, like Lynn was saying, us three girls getting together, and that we make each other feel good about ourselves. You want to look for relationships like that, and you want to avoid the relationships that drag you down, and you want to give yourself a break. I always tell people, breathe, take a deep breath and let it out. We don't have to be perfect every hour of the day. So when I talk about living through the moments of today, we just want to be more aware of when we're doing it and avoid criticizing others and other people's beliefs. Because remember, it starts with you first. And we want to do this and challenge ourselves, to build that self-esteem and replace it with what we really want statements. And that's how it starts. Baby steps of noticing what those negative beliefs are. And then we want to replace them with what I really want. And I teach my clients to ask a simple question. What is it I really want? What I really want is to be in a moment right here, right now, with you three women, sharing a message out to the world that hopefully in some small way, I'm planting a seed that ignites within them an awareness of what they really want, and an awareness to let go of those negative beliefs, those untruths about themselves that they've taken on and owned. And it's just a program that they've given power to. That's what I really want. And I go deeper and deeper with what I really want. But these are some ways that we can really develop self-esteem and build confidence.
I wish.
Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was going to say, I wish we would start our children with actually, I shouldn't say I want, I'm working on the fact that I would love to start a school where you can take children and put them in different units where they can actually see, innately what gifts they have, whether they're electronics or homemakers or this or that, and let them, evolve without the impression that they have to be in the cookie cutter way, and if we could just remember what it was to be a child and to be free of thinking and doing what we want instead of being broken into the mold that we all know that we've been programmed, it would be an amazing world. So go ahead, Pam.
Well, and I love that you say that, because I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think that there's so much to be said for educating our kids early on. That's a whole nother show, but, but, just to go back to what Sherry was saying, I love that analogy of the seed, and her and I have talked about that. And one of the reasons why I love that analogy so much is because a few years ago, when my son was 17, the state went after my ex-husband for a lot of child support. And so his response to that was to come after me in court for custody. And so during that time, it was really difficult and challenging because financially, I didn't have nearly as many resources as he did. I was a single mom, just trying to survive anyway. And so, I just thought, I can't afford an attorney, but I had worked with attorneys, and I thought, I'm going to do this on my own, and we're going to find a way. And I remember, listening frequently, like every Sunday, to Stephen Furtick of Elevation Church. And he had this sermon one Sunday, and he spoke about the seed. And the message that came out to me from that sermon was, the provision is in the seed. And I wrote it down on a sticky note, and I put it in my car so that anytime I was in my car, I would see that sticky note. It would constantly remind me. And I didn't really at that time even fully understand what that meant. But so many times I have gone back and I have thought about the meaning of that phrase and all the different ways that it has applied in my life. And really, ultimately, I believe that we are all the seed. The provision for what we need is in the seed. It's already in us. And it's just our job to nurture that seed. And sometimes that seed goes underground for a long period of time. Sometimes it just sits there in the darkness and you're like, it's not ever coming up, you know?
It's not ready yet.
Yeah, right. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. You know, I mean, I know there's been long seasons in my life where I was underground in the dirt, you know, but just to know that when that seed is watered and when it's fed, that eventually it will spring up. And that to me is the message of being a light in the world, is knowing that that seed is in you, knowing that there may be times when you're in the dark for a long time, but that you will spring up, that your life will come forth, and you will bring your message to the world.
Okay, so I'm going to go to this one. We're getting close to the top of the hour here, and you ladies are so busy, and I really appreciate your time. And I'm definitely going to want to have you guys back, because I feel like, you know, people just, you know, I'm Puerto Rican, and you know, us Latino women, we're either happy or we get angry. And I chose to change that, you know, trajectory in my life, but they don't understand it. They, you know, when people know my life, they're like, but Lynn, how can you be happy? Because I choose that. Everything else did not serve me. You know, and Sherry, you can explain that. I mean, you can relate to this, but, you know, being a bodybuilder, you know, all the pains of my body, I mean, the whole arthritis, everything. I am so blessed that I was a bodybuilder for 10 years, because every time I'm sore, my back, my joints, I'm like, oh, that was a good workout, except I didn't do the workout. But it serves me. I use that pain now, you know, because, like, man, when you had that pain and soreness, you know, you're bleeding, tearing those muscles, and you just love it, you know? Mm-hmm. And so it might be sick to other people to hear that, but it serves me now. It serves me. As crippled as my body chooses to be, it serves me to say, I'm not the pain. I am, you know, above that. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right, Sherry?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in about 6 years ago, six and a half years ago, I was bedridden with degenerative disc disease. And that was from all my years of being in the bodybuilding world. So I lost my whole entire back. And a lot of people don't realize in degenerative disc disease is where your bones literally turn to powder and basically poop them out your waist, which sounds really weird. But in this case, it was another time of surrender. And see, what we don't realize is this pain and this suffering that we, you know, set ourselves up for sometimes. When we get to the point where we're just so sick and tired of being sick and tired of the pain, then that's when we seek. And so at this particular point in my life, I also sought. And my real question at the time, because I believe the quality of questions you ask yourself determines the quality of life you live, because we're not separate from God. See, we think that God's this man out in the sky. We're not separate from God. God is everything. God is infinite. And so God is in and through all things, just like I said, us. So in this case, my question was, how do you bridge the gap between time and space, between thought and manifestation of what you really want? And I was woken up at 2:00 in the morning. And this is how close Spirit is to us. And Spirit said to me, do you want the answer to your question? And I sat straight up, and Spirit said to me, there is no gap between time and space. There's only right now. And so how was I going to right now see wholeness? How was I going to right now tap in to good and greater good, to the light, to the love, to what I really wanted? And so, you know, one of the ways that I always talk about with, you know, mastering tips and techniques, you know, to get out of that whole process of pain and suffering and body issues is so think about this for a second. We live in a tiny corner of possibility. There's possibility for all of us. And so the good news is that the brain doesn't get it. What happens is the brain tends to only compare itself to the best about what's common, not to what's possible. And so what we don't realize is every one of our neurons is remaking us. And we're reforming the structure and function of our entire nervous system in real time. And so I'm a lover of what I call mind hacks. And so this mind hack that I learned, it's called live wiring. And so basically how this hack works is it's really directed in a purposeful way. And it's how do you exactly do it? So what you do is you imagine yourself in third person, in that third person perspective, and you visualize yourself on your own shoulder. Now imagine a small version of yourself on your own shoulder, observing what you normally do. So observing your behavior when you're negative, observing your behavior when you're positive, observing your behavior when you're beating yourself up or you're thinking, why is this always happening to me? And so what we have to realize, it's that observation power that allows us to start to override what we automatically usually do. And it might sound a little strange, but it takes practice like anything else. When we want to grow in ourselves, when we want to be different people, it takes practice. So it's this outsider awareness, believe it or not, that frees us from our own internal bias and empowers us to choose how and who we want to be. And I'm not kidding you guys. The observer is so easy once you begin to take baby pockets of time to start doing it and observing you and how you're behaving. And I'm telling you, it will change your life. It's so awesome.
Sherry, I mean, you guys, this has just been so awesome. And Pam, I'm going to give you a second here to speak, but I want to tell everybody that I'm sure on behalf of Sherry and Pam that they would love for you to follow them. And I do share you guys' podcast. I keep it up there for a day or so and then I delete it, but I have it up there. You guys, these are ladies that, I just love them. And if you may not believe the way they do, but if what you're doing is not working for you, you might want to see if you're a little open to see if anything they say have any merit. So Pam, go ahead. And I'll put the link. Maybe can we invite them to your group too?
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. So we'll put that in the comments so anybody wants to join.
Yeah, I'll put it in there.
Awesome. And I'll go ahead and put it in the, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, first I wanted to thank you again for having us because this has been wonderful. I have really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And just to say that, it really is ours to claim. I obviously do energy work. And so when I'm working with people, I frequently see really significant shifts because there are so many tools that we can utilize to help us in this process of letting go of the old programming and moving into who and what we really want to be. But that's just one piece of it. I mean, for us to be able to do that is a really powerful thing. But at the same time, we are the seed. We have this knowing, we have this knowledge. And when we move into that space where we really claim that and we really own that, then we have so much power to create what it is that we want to manifest in our lives. And I know, people kind of use this word manifestation like it's poof, there, something appears. And that's not really exactly what it means. And if you actually research what manifestation means, it's very interesting because there's sort of this idea that there's data coming forth. And so we are really creating that data. We're like these little computers with all this information running through us. And I like to just explain it to people in this way. You've got all these files of information that you filed away. Some of those files are not serving you. So let's get rid of the files that aren't serving you anymore. And then that way you're pulling information from the files that are serving you. And what that helped me to do was to move into a space where I really could claim my power in a new way and to be able to operate from a totally different space. Minus those negative energies, minus those negative patterns. And that was so powerful. And I've seen it happen in other people's lives, and I actually created a deck several months ago called the Light of the World deck. And it's just a little deck of cards, but it just it's these little affirmations of all the different ways that we can show up as light in the world. And that has been really powerful just for me alone, to be able to have those messages for myself. But, you know, there are little tools like that that we can use, little ways to remind ourselves. You know, people use scripture, whatever it is that works for you, to remind yourself of who you really are, and then to just live from that space.
You guys, this has been so, and I can't thank you guys enough. And I want to thank our audience that has stayed with us. And I want to thank everybody that's going to actually watch the replay. You know, I think everything we do, there's always nuggets to be picked up, or triggers of, you know, of things that we knew that we have not realized. And I swear, between Ken's group last night and today, it's like, you know, we forget, we allow a lot of, it's just like a desk, you know, you start putting paper and clutter on it, and you forget what the surface of the table even looks like, you know? So it's just like brushing your teeth. You got to do it every day, right?
Right.
That's right.
I just want to thank you guys for being here. I'm going to close it out with our intro video really quick. You ladies stay there. Thanks, everybody. I hope you got something out of this. Feel free to share it, and feel free to reach out to these guys, because you'll love them as much as me.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye, everybody.